Hello and welcome to WION World as One. You're watching Race to Power with me, Hem Kaur Saroya. Here's what we've lined up for you on the show tonight. Moldova, a small landlocked nation between Ukraine. A game of influence and interference is now taking place. We will tell you all about it. Also on the show tonight, Donald Trump claims that his approval ratings are at an all-time high, but the latest polls tell a different story. Stay tuned for that report. Now, Moldova, a small landlocked nation between Ukraine and Romania, is heading for elections this Sunday. But before the high-stakes vote, a game of influence and interference is taking place. Moldovan authorities say the string of this conspiracy leads directly to the Kremlin.
The Kremlin is pouring hundreds of millions of euros to buy hundreds of thousands of votes on both banks of the Dnistru River and abroad. People are intoxicated daily with lies. Hundreds of individuals are paid to provoke disorder, violence, and spread fear.
Moldova says it is fighting a hybrid war against Russian bot networks, fake government orders, and Moscow-subordinated church priests. Russia is allegedly involved in amplification of fake news, criticism against the government, and anti-EU narratives. Moldova's anti-corruption center carried out over 250 raids and detained dozens of people for an alleged plot to incite mass riots. Investigators say nearly 9 million Romanian or $500,000 were funneled via illegal crypto exchanges and couriers to influence the vote. Officials seized cash, documents and storage devices as evidence. Moldova is accusing Moscow of boosting support for pro-Russian parties, including Alternative Bloc and socialist-leaning Patriotic Bloc. The plot falls under larger efforts by Russia to expand its sphere of influence, and the Russian spy agency has flipped the narrative on EU and NATO. Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service accused the European Union of planning to occupy Moldova. In a statement, the SVR claimed that NATO was amassing troops in neighboring Romania and in the Ukrainian port city of Odessa, either to quell protests after Sunday's vote or in preparation for elections in Moldova's breakaway pro-Russian region of Transnistria in November. Now, this is not the first time that Russia has been accused of interfering in elections. Large-scale interference was also reported in Moldova's 2024 presidential elections. And apart from that, Russia has also been accused of interfering in elections of major European powers like France, Germany and the United Kingdom. The attempts were also reported in Ukraine, Bulgaria, Georgia and Romania. One of the most popular cases that got global attention was Russia-Gate in US presidential elections in 2016. As of now, however, the focus is on Moldova and Sunday's parliamentary election, anything but a done deal. According to latest surveys, the pro-Russia and pro-EU bloc are locked in a close battle. The results would determine which way the politics of Moldova tilts. Brussels and Moscow will be watching closely. And in his speech at the United Nations, Donald Trump claimed his approval ratings are at an all-time high. But the latest polls tell a different story. The American president's approval ratings are in a steady decline. That's what they say. According to the latest Reuters Ipsos poll, Trump's approval ratings are down to 41%. This is 6% lower compared to what it was on his inauguration day and 1% down from the poll conducted earlier this month. Now, not just this, all polls conducted in the month of September show the similar trend. We studied 7 polls conducted this month. Donald Trump's approval ratings in all of these polls ranges from 39 to 46%. That is lower than what it was when his term started. The highest approval rating is given by Fox News, that's at 46%. But that too is lower than what it was when he began his second term. As we dive deeper into the data, the party-wise preference on specific issues paints a different picture. On most of the issues, Republicans surge ahead of Democrats. More Americans trust Republicans when it comes to handling issues such as crime, immigration, foreign conflicts, economy, gun control, political extremism, and corruption. Democrats maintain the lead over Republicans on issues such as respect for democracy, healthcare, women's rights, and the environment. US President claims highest approval number. However, the numbers really do tell a different story. But beyond the claims and the counterclaims, the US is heading towards a midterm election where both the parties will fight for the control of the House. The verdict in the midterms will be the first big referendum on Donald Trump since his re-election. All right, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live on the phone line from New York. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, as I mentioned here, Donald Trump claims his approval ratings are at the highest they've been. Numbers, though, do not support his claims. What do you have to say?
Yeah, this new Gallup poll that just was conducted recently really shows that most Americans who were polled are concerned about the economy. And the biggest dip from the last Gallup poll, 31% was among Republicans, actually. Still, President Trump's approval rating is higher than it was in January, but nonetheless, this may be concerning, as you mentioned, notably because you have the midterm elections coming up, and you see that the Republicans are already trying to rally to keep a hold of Congress and Senate with its very thin majority.
Right, Susan, of course, also as I mentioned in the report, there are a number of issues where, of course, that's where the difference emerges and how the Democrats are taking lead as well. That's healthcare, women's rights. On all of these issues, and Donald Trump, of course, the midterm elections, that will be the referendum. What are things looking like on ground?
The economy really plays the majority of the role in these polls. There is the issue of women's rights, but that's very fringe. It's usually among Democrats. And we really haven't seen a change in the policies of the Trump administration when it comes to women. But also there's the issue of immigration. When it comes to immigration, President Trump is actually polling a lot better, month by month, at least in September, better than August. But then again, I'm telling you, the tariffs, the economy, inflation, people are really continue to feel the pinch, and that was one of the reasons they elected Donald Trump. And I think that the reason you see such a big dip is because of somewhat of a disappointment that 8 months on, their lives haven't really changed, and they're more even concerned now.
All right. Well, Susan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on this.
Leave the cameras there.
Now, Jimmy Kimmel returned to late-night television after nearly a week-long suspension. He broke down saying he was not joking about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kimmel last Monday accused conservatives of trying to score political points over Kirk's death in a joke that Trump was mourning his death like a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. On his return, Kimmel said that it was important to him as a human to clear that it was never his intention to make light of the murder of a young man. He said, and I'm quoting, "I do not think there's anything funny about it, nor was it my intention to blame any specific group." Going on to call the suspect obviously a deeply disturbed individual, Kimmel, however, sharpened his attack on Trump, calling the effort to get his show taken off air un-American, and criticized Chairman of the Federal Communications Commission of the US, Brendan Carr, directly, saying his threats to scrutinize ABC over the show were unintelligent. He played for his audience a clip of Trump telling reporters Kimmel was pulled off air because he had no talent and no ratings, and said, "Well, I do now," going on to accuse the US president of trying his best to cancel him. He said instead he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired big, and he might have to release the Epstein files to now distract us from this. His comments come on the same day as a pop-up statue appeared near the US Capitol in Washington, D.C., depicting Trump holding hands with Epstein. Trump reacted to Kimmel's return in a post on the Truth Social network. He expressed his dismay on ABC, which he called fake news, giving Kimmel his job back despite telling the White House his show was cancelled. He claims something happened between then and now, concluding that his audience is gone and, well, the talent was never there. That's what he says. However, disapproving Trump's claims, Kimmel's return has been hailed by his fans, his admirers, outside Hollywood studio where Kimmel's show airs, from audience members lined up in huge numbers to attend his comeback show. Listen to this.
I'm so happy he's back on. That suspension was total bullshit, can I say that? And just a lot of political nonsense. And it's very scary to see things like that happening. And I'm sure it won't be the first, it won't be the last. And so, yeah, I really support Jimmy and free speech.
Well, first of all, I'm really happy that Jimmy kind of won this battle. And, we weren't really expecting to be able to get in because when we got the tickets, he was shut down. So we were really thrilled when we saw on the news that he was back. And so now it makes the show more special because this is a show that was never supposed to happen. And now it's I feel like we're part of the stand that he took by being part of this.
Now, the Toshakhana case against former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi is entering its final stages. A case Khan says is politically motivated and designed to keep him out of the political arena. Imran Khan has repeated his claim that he was removed through what he calls a local and foreign conspiracy. And since then, he and his party have faced what he describes as ruthless, unprecedented victimization. Now, he told investigators that dozens of cases filed against him and the PTI leadership have collapsed through acquittals or suspended sentences, yet him and his wife continue to be targeted in the Toshakhana reference. Khan also questioned why only him and his wife were facing trial, pointing out that former Prime Ministers Nawaz Sharif and Asif Ali Zardari had retained luxury vehicles from Toshakhana without consequence. He insists that all gifts he kept were evaluated by government-approved appraisers with no personal influence involved. Bushra Bibi, in a written response, denied all the allegations, and she said she never interacted with officials or influenced the evaluation of gifts. She claims she's being dragged into the case solely because she's Imran Khan's wife. She pointed at planted witnesses, personal and political vendetta, recalling how the establishment used Imran's former allies to plant evidence against him. The Toshakhana case alleges Imran Khan deliberately concealed the details of the gifts that he'd retained from Pakistan government's repository during his tenure as Prime Minister. The Toshakhana contains presents handed to government officials from foreign officials that are kept then. Both Khan and his wife reminded that they'd already been handed a 14-year sentence in another case, a verdict later suspended by the Islamabad High Court on first hearing. As the Accountability Court nears the final verdict, PTI circles call the Toshakhana case part of a broader campaign to eliminate Imran Khan and his party from Pakistan's political landscape. On the 30th of January 2024, just 8 days before the Pakistan general elections, former Prime Minister Imran Khan and Shah Mahmood Qureshi, a senior leader of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. This was in connection with the highly significant cipher case where they were charged with leaking state secrets. In our special segment, Pakistan Power Brokers, we tell you more about the issue and the plot and the leaked report by the Commonwealth Observer Group that has once again put the spotlight on the 2024 Pakistan general election. Take a look.
The resolution for vote of no confidence against Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, has been passed by a majority.
In April of 2022, former cricketer turned politician Imran Khan rather ignominiously became the first Pakistani Prime Minister to be removed from office through a no-confidence motion. Khan actually joined a long list of Pakistani Prime Ministers who failed to complete a full 5-year term in the country's politically fraught history.
It was the army which abducted me. And nothing happens without the permission of the army chief.
But Imran Khan, said to be made of sterner stuff, wasn't going down without a fight. Immediately after his removal, Khan had alleged that the United States, in cahoots with the powerful Pakistan army, had a hand in his ouster. Both Washington and the Pakistan army denied his accusations. Khan himself, in subsequent months, appeared to soften his stance against the United States. In August 2023, however, a US-based news outlet, The Intercept, published purported details of a conversation between Pakistan's former ambassador to the United States, Asad Majid Khan, and Donald Lu, the Assistant Secretary of State for the US Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs. Note that this alleged conversation took place within 2 weeks of Imran Khan's visit to Moscow, on the same day that Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Lu reportedly raised serious concern on Khan's Russia visit and Pakistan's neutral stance on the Ukraine war, highlighting the gravity of the situation. According to the publication, Donald Lu allegedly told Asad Majid Khan, quote, "I think if a no-confidence vote against the Prime Minister succeeds, all will be forgiven in Washington," unquote. Asad Majid Khan proceeded to send the details of the conversation to Islamabad through a classified diplomatic cable, cipher number I-0678. It is this classified cable or cipher that Imran Khan was first charged with and later found guilty of making public under the Official Secrets Act. Imran Khan denied the charge and instead claimed that the contents appeared in the media from other sources. And then just 8 days before the Pakistan general elections on the 30th of January 2024, Imran Khan and Shah Mahmood Qureshi, a senior leader of the PTI, were sentenced to 10 years in jail in connection with the cipher case. The Elections Observer Group in the leaked report available on dropsitenews.com revealed deep concern about a number of legal challenges to the Pakistan general elections, the evidentiary basis, the apparent inconsistencies, and the timing of these legal cases, including the cipher case. Though the Islamabad High Court acquitted Khan and Qureshi in the cipher case on the 3rd of June 2024, the damage was already done. Imran Khan continues to languish in jail, charged with several other cases. There's no doubt that Imran Khan's stance on the Ukraine war and his cozying up to Russia raised eyebrows in Washington. But did Khan, by going public, miss a trick or two and lose the plot insofar as the cipher case is concerned?
Now, tensions are rising in Ecuador as rural and indigenous communities take to the streets once again in protest. This time, it is for a dramatic 56% spike in diesel prices that sparked widespread road blockades and unrest. These are the latest visuals from Quito. Despite a state of emergency in place, demonstrators are refusing to back down, reviving memories of earlier mass uprisings that shook the nation. Barricades of dirt, stones and burning logs blocked highways across Ecuador as hundreds of indigenous and rural protesters defied a government-imposed state of emergency. The spark a sharp diesel price hike, which was $1.80 but now is $2.8 per barrel. This after President Daniel Noboa scrapped fuel subsidies. The protest, led by the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, began with a call for a national strike and quickly spread across other provinces.
Apoyar, animar.
Support, encourage all our mobilized colleagues across the country to stay strong with conviction.
Now, to control the unrest, President Daniel Noboa declared a state of emergency in 8 of Ecuador's 24 provinces with nighttime curfews in 5. Authorities arrested 15 demonstrators and 2 police officers were injured in confrontations. Interior Minister Jean Reimberg warned that anyone committing violence or sabotage will be prosecuted, some under terrorism laws carrying up to 30 years in prison.
And what Noboa does is to authoritatively impose a package, because raising diesel raises everything.
That is why we are also in the streets, facing the neglect of the Ecuadorian Public University. We are in the streets to overturn that decree.
The government says the subsidy cut will save $1.1 billion annually, funds that will go towards poverty programs and business loans. Ecuador has seen this before. Fuel price hikes triggered massive protests in 2019 and 2022, toppling economic reforms and governments as well. Now, under the pressure, President Noboa, who still holds a 55% approval rating, is betting, saying that this time will be different. With barricades still up and both sides holding their ground, Ecuador may be bracing for yet another test of democracy and resilience. Now, 4 years after the military seized power, over 90% of Guineans have voted yes in a constitutional referendum that could allow the leader of the country's junta to run for president. This according to official provisional results. The opposition, many of whose leaders are based abroad, had called for a boycott, describing the vote as a power grab with predetermined results. The constitution not only paves the way for elections in the West African country, but also permits General Mamadi Doumbouya, its junta leader, to run for president. According to reports, some 6.7 million Guineans out of a population of approximately 14.5 million were eligible to cast the ballot. 45,000 members of the security forces were deployed across the country on Sunday for the vote, along with 1,000 light and armoured vehicles and combat helicopters. The new constitution will replace the country's transitional charter introduced by the military government that had prohibited any junta member from running for election. For more on this, our correspondent Louisa Oliani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
Guinea is seeing hope of a return to civilian rule as referendum favors a new constitution. The new constitution would extend the presidential term from 5 to 7 years, permit one re-election, establish a Senate with 1/3 of its members appointed by the president, and for the first time allows the independent candidate to run. This has further raised speculation of Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power in 2021, running for office if election holds in December. However, major opposition parties, including the UFDG, RPG, CNRD, have condemned the process, saying Mamadi only wants to transform himself to a civilian president. Analysts believe the implications from this constitutional referendum are likely to profoundly impact Guinea's political, economic and security landscape for years to come. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olani, WION, World is One.
Now, supporters of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro are protesting in capital Caracas. Pro-Maduro protesters say they are against U.S. naval deployment in the Caribbean. U.S. claims the warships are targeting only drug traffickers, but this move has divided Venezuela's political leaders. Thousands of Maduro supporters rallied in Caracas. They denounced the U.S. operation as an act of aggression. They fear it could lead to a U.S. invasion in Venezuela. The U.S. has deployed 8 warships and a nuclear-powered submarine to waters near Venezuela. The Pentagon says it is a counter-narcotics mission. The tensions follow U.S. naval strikes that destroyed 3 suspected drug boats. The attack killed at least 14 people so far. The Trump administration says such operations prove the mission is working. Key Venezuelan opposition leaders are backing this deployment, but critics see it as pressure on the Maduro government. At the heart of the crisis is Venezuela's disputed 2024 presidential election. The opposition says its tallies show that Zalazuro Shea defeated Maduro, but official results declare Maduro the winner, sparking protests that left 28 dead and hundreds imprisoned. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. News and updates will continue on the other side on WION World is One. Stay tuned.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ, किसी के लिए ये विचार कट्टर है तो किसी के लिए यही भारत की आत्मा है, किसी के लिए ये विद्रोह है तो किसी के लिए राष्ट्र निर्माण के सिद्धांत।
तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये अपना हिंदू समाज,
ये सिर्फ संगठन नहीं,
अब इसको संगठित करना चाहिए।
100 बरस की तपस्या है।
हमारा संगठन तो एक अभेद्य किला है, इसके दीवारों पर चंचू प्रहार करने वालों की चोचें वही टूट कर गिर जाएगी।
एक चिंगारी से वट वृक्ष, देखिए सदी का संग्राम आरएसएस की शताब्दी पर धारणाओं को चुनौती देने जल्द आ रहा है। केसरिया at 100.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ, किसी के लिए ये विचार कट्टर है तो किसी के लिए यही भारत की आत्मा है, किसी के लिए ये विद्रोह है तो किसी के लिए राष्ट्र निर्माण के सिद्धांत।
तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये अपना हिंदू समाज,
ये सिर्फ संगठन नहीं,
अब इसको संगठित करना चाहिए।
100 बरस की तपस्या है।
हमारा संगठन तो एक अभेद्य किला है, इसके दीवारों पर चंचू प्रहार करने वालों की चोचें वही टूट कर गिर जाएगी।
एक चिंगारी से वट वृक्ष, देखिए सदी का संग्राम आरएसएस की शताब्दी पर धारणाओं को चुनौती देने जल्द आ रहा है। केसरिया at 100.
Welcome back to WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now for fine print American Joker. The headlines. Iran's president repeats that his country is not seeking nuclear weapons after military strikes by Israel and the United States and impending sanctions triggered by European powers. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tells the United Nations General Assembly that the world was living through the most destructive arms race in human history. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency says Israeli forces killed dozens of people across the Palestinian territory as the military presses its assault on Gaza City, from where hundreds of thousands have been forced to flee. Torrential rain and violent winds in China's Macau Special Administrative Region and the southern port city of Zhuhai, causing severe flooding and triggering large-scale evacuations. France doubles down on threat, asserting it is in a position to develop a next-generation combat aircraft alone should negotiations with Germany and Spain fail. Suspected gunman dead and 2 wounded in a shooting at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility in Dallas, Texas. Wall Street trades flat, but tech stocks are in focus as Nvidia and Oracle slide for the second straight session. FIFA discusses expanding the 2030 World Cup to a 64-team tournament at the Trump Tower in New York. The proposal has been opposed by the European and Asian football bodies. We begin with India. Leh region of Ladakh Union Territory is witnessing severe unrest. Protesters are demanding statehood for Ladakh and its inclusion under the 6th schedule of the constitution. Protests erupted with demonstrators clashing with police and setting a police van on fire in Leh. During the protests, BJP office was set on fire and several vehicles were torched as well. A complete shutdown is being observed against union government and Union Territory Administration for breaking the premises of 4-point agreement. Now, according to activist Sonam Wangchuk, 3 to 4 people have been killed in the clashes, over a dozen have been injured. However, the Director General of